If you want to make these stunning and elegant stackable pumpkins, you are in the right place. Can you believe these actually started out as dollar store pumpkins? With just some napkins, Mod Podge, a little paint, and a touch of gold, I turned them into this elegant fall decor piece that looks anything but cheap. The best part? It's simple, budget-friendly, and so much fun to make. Stick around and I'll walk you through every step so you can create your own. I purchased these pumpkins at the dollar store and they come in 3 varieties. If you can find a white one, grab it, since it will require a little bit less work. But if they don't have it, don't worry, you can achieve the same look using the orange pumpkin too. I'll be using the white pumpkin, but let me show you real quick how to prep the orange one, because white pumpkins were like unicorns in my town. I hit up several dollar stores and managed to find only 2. If you are using the orange pumpkins, the first step is to spray them with a primer to cover up that bright plasticky orange. I ended up applying 2 coats, but make sure each coat is completely dry before adding the next. If you were lucky enough to find the white pumpkins, you can skip the spray painting step. But I still gave mine a thin coat of chalk paint because they looked a bit plasticky and a little texture doesn't hurt. You could technically skip this step since the pumpkin will eventually be covered with napkins and paint, but if you are recreating this design, I recommend at least painting the smallest pumpkin. By spray painting it, any visible white spots will look polished instead of, well, cheap and sad. Once your spray painting is done, it's time to tackle the stem. I've got to protect the pumpkin before giving the stem a shiny makeover. If you are planning to use a paintbrush, you can skip this step. But I am going to use a gold spray paint to give the stem a more elegant finish, so I have some covering up to do first. I really could use a wider painter's tape, but I don't have one handy, so I'm making my own. Once I build it up wide enough, I'll use a paint bottle to trace around it as a guide for cutting. The bottle is smaller than what I need, but that's fine. I can widen the circle if necessary. Without this hack, I probably end up with a very lopsided, egg-shaped tape patch. Once everything is covered, I'll take the pumpkin outside and give the stem a few light coats of gold spray paint. That's all it takes to get a nice, even finish. No need to go overboard, unless you want your pumpkin looking like the Oscar statue. Let's talk about the napkins for a minute and how to pick the right one for a project like this. These are the 3 napkins I considered using, and I'll walk you through why each one was either eliminated or chosen. This first napkin is really pretty and honestly, I wanted to use it. But the problem is, it doesn't have much white space, which means I'd have to wrap the whole napkin around the pumpkin. And with a round, irregular shape like this, that just creates a lot of wrinkles. So this one didn't make the cut. The second napkin is also beautiful, and it even has pumpkins in the design, which matches the theme perfectly. But once you open it up, you can see the design is sliced apart. That means I'd have to cut smaller pieces and piece them together, and I didn't really want to go that route for this project. And here is the third napkin, the one I decided to use. I chose this one because it has a continuous design. I can cut around the white areas and create a strip of napkin. It makes it so much easier to apply to the pumpkin compared to this one I just showed you earlier. Smaller strips are definitely the way to go. They lay down smoother and really help cut down on the wrinkles. Let's get the napkin ready first. There are a few different ways you can cut out the design. My go-to method is just using scissors. Since this is a large piece of napkin, I'm starting by roughly cutting it out, and then I'll go back and trim the edges more carefully to get as close to the design as possible. Another option is to use a brush with water or a watercolor brush pen like I'm showing here. It does work really well, but for me, it was a little harder to manage with such a big piece of napkin. Turning the pieces and handling them gently got a bit tricky. Try both methods and see which one works best for you. If you don't have a watercolor pen, no worries. Just grab a small brush, dip it in the water, and you have an instant, budget-friendly version. Now that I roughly cut out the strip of napkin, I'm going to trim it down and get as close to the design as possible. I'm doing this for two reasons. First, it helps soften those sharp edges, and second, since I'll be piecing strips together, I don't want the layers to overlap. Once you are done cutting out the design, make sure to separate the napkin layers. We only need the very top printed layer, and most napkins usually have 3 layers. Now that the napkins are prepped, we can start decoupaging. For this step, you'll need some Mod Podge, a brush, and a bit of clear wrap. Apply a thin layer of Mod Podge on top of your napkin. Don't overdo it, because if it's too thick, the napkin can tear while you are smoothing it out. Place the napkin on top of the pumpkin and gently smooth out the wrinkles using the clear wrap. You can gently lift and reposition the napkin if needed. Make sure there is enough Mod Podge to cover the whole area. If not, just add a little more. Pay special attention to the edges so they are glued down. Keep applying Mod Podge and smoothing out wrinkles as you go. Your project probably won't be completely wrinkle-free, so don't stress about it too much. Cut off any excess napkin and make sure the edges are glued down. Before moving on, give Mod Podge a little time to dry. Wrapping a brush in clear wrap will stop it from drying out while you wait. Now grab the second strip and align it with the first one. Because of the pumpkin's curved shape, this part here is overlapping. I'm going to cut this section out to make it fit the pumpkin better. When I'm applying the second strip and all the ones after that, I like to first place them on the pumpkin without any glue. This way, I can reposition them until I find the perfect spot. Then while holding it down, I fold the top section and start applying the glue, making sure the napkin doesn't shift. Just like before, I smooth out the edges with clear wrap and keep working my way down the pumpkin. And here is how it's looking so far. I'd say it's starting to look pretty fancy for a dollar store pumpkin. And just because crafting has its challenges and things don't always go smoothly, there is no need to panic. If something goes wrong, it will either become a happy accident or we can fix it. Here is how to handle it if you accidentally tear your napkin. Here I am realizing what just happened. See, it's all smudged. But don't worry. Normally, I take this to the sink to fix, but for demonstration, I'll bring some water over. Just wet the area you want to remove and wipe it off. It's really that easy. Make sure everything is completely dry before you continue with the project. Grab a new piece of napkin and continue with your project. Hopefully, from here on out, everything goes smoothly. I'll show you a little secret. When I don't have to worry about making sure every detail is visible on camera for you to see, this is how I do it. I just sit the pumpkin in my lap, and it gives me a better view and makes it easier to work. Try it and see if it works better for you too. When you have finished applying all the strips, you will likely notice some bald spots. To fix them, I'm just filling those areas with smaller pieces of the same napkin I cut out earlier. This helps the final result look much more polished. A few tiny fixes like this, and your pumpkin will be looking fabulous. Now we are moving on to the smallest pumpkin. Some might say the most difficult and time-consuming part of the project is behind us. Decorating this small pumpkin will be much easier. I am going to decoupage it just like the larger one, but this time using smaller pieces of napkin. Plus, I won't cover the whole pumpkin. I'll use the same napkin on the bottom and top, so the whole 3-tier stack looks like a coordinated little pumpkin family. If you are enjoying this tutorial, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any of my upcoming projects. I post fun, easy to follow DIYs and craft tutorials that you can try at home. So come join the crafting fun. That was pretty quick, right? Just one more tier to tackle, and then we'll be ready for the final assembly. Next up is the middle pumpkin. For this one, I'm just going to paint it instead of decoupaging. I'll be using blue paint to match the blue in my napkin. The paint I'm using is chalk paint, and the color is called Ocean. I grabbed this paint at Walmart, and I will leave a link to the napkin from Amazon in the description box below. That way, if you want to recreate this exact look, you don't have to go on a wild supply hunt. The paint has a pretty good coverage, but for best results, I recommend applying 2 coats. Just make sure to let the first coat dry completely before adding the second. Leaving it as is looks a little dull, so we are going to add some texture and dimension. For this step, you'll need white paint, water, and a paper towel. It's best to work in sections. Apply some white paint over the pumpkin, lightly mist it with water, and then use your paper towel to wipe the paint away. You can remove as much or as little as you like until you get the look you want. Because I painted the stem gold, I want to carry the trimmer into the middle tier so it all ties together. I'm using a metallic gold paint for this step. The technique is the same as before. Apply a little bit of paint and then wipe it off with a napkin. This way, only a soft shimmer of gold is left behind, adding just enough sparkle. To protect my masterpiece, I'm going to finish it off with a clear sealer. A few thin coats will do the trick, adding durability and giving everything a nice polished look. The dollar store had a nice selection of fake flowers, so I picked up a few to use for this project. Some of them aren't the prettiest right out of the bag, but don't worry, we can definitely spruce them up. I knew I wanted a gold stem, so I decided to carry that gold color into the rest of the design. These little mini pomegranates were perfect for that. I just snipped them off their stems, poked a few holes into a box to hold them in place, and then took them outside to spray paint them with the same gold I used on the stem. Now it's time to stack up the pumpkins and start decorating. To hold everything together, I'll be using a mix of hot glue and E6000. I picked up a few little finds from the dollar store, and I also grabbed a box of assorted decorations from Hobby Lobby that was on sale. It came with pumpkins, flowers, few leaves, and a bunch of other goodies, and honestly, it turned out to be perfect for this project. I snapped the bottom and middle pumpkins together, and now comes the fun part, decorating. If you've got some decorations lying around from who knows when, this is the moment to put them to good use. Just experiment a little and see what makes your pumpkin look fabulous. To glue everything down, I'm using a combination of hot glue and E6000. If your pumpkins are going to stay indoors, hot glue alone will work just fine. But I want to keep mine outside by the front door, and hot glue can melt on warmer days. Well, I guess it depends on where you live. I learned that the hard way once when I hot glued decorations to a wreath and later found them scattered all around my front porch. Moving on to the top pumpkin. This one didn't want to snap on no matter how hard I tried. But no worries, we've got glue to the rescue. And just like we did with the bottom, we'll decorate the top. Just have fun with it and see what looks best to you. And there you have it. Our stunning, elegant, stackable pumpkins are complete. I love how the gold, the napkins, and all the little decorations came together to create a cozy, high-end fall look. I hope this inspires you to try it yourself, whether it's for your front porch, your table, or just for fun. And if you like this project, be sure to check out my other videos. I've got tutorials on decoupaging wine bottles, small pumpkins, oyster shells, clam shells, and even some fun little clay ghosts. There is plenty of inspiration waiting for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next project.